Congratulations again, Honorable Commissioner, for your 1 year in office. And before we go into the nitty-gritty of what we have scheduled in our conversations this afternoon, we'd like to say happy 1 year in office.
Thank you very
And this is the
much.
first time I'll be seeing you after you assumed office. So
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
it's a great thing. It's a very pleasant thing. So
Glad to see you
normally,
again.
thank you. When the name Michael Odera is mentioned, people always think about it in the banking sector, anything that has to do with finances, but mostly in the banking sector. So it came as no surprise to some of us when you were appointed Commissioner for Finance, because we saw that as a square peg in a square hole. But I want to believe migrating from from private sector rather to public sector was not exactly easy. So how did you find that switch, that change? How did you find it? And how were you able to create a balance?
Okay, thank you very much once again. I'm glad to see you again. And thanks for congratulating me.
You're welcome.
Even though I'm not where I think I should be, I'm not where we think we should be, we're not where we're supposed to be, but I guess we're on the right track. Yeah, so the switch from core banking to um, core public sector financing. Anyway, it's not like the core job. The actual job is not so different from what I have been doing all the while. Before now in banking, I had done most of my banking is managing and supporting the government. So I had been a public sector expert in the banks. So I had managed states finances and federal MDAs and things like that. But there's an aspect of this job now that uh, I, I didn't, I wasn't exposed to.
Okay.
That's managing people.
Right.
So being in a public office like this exposes you to a lot of other kind of managerial demands. So you need to understand how to, because people come to you for different reasons.
True.
So in the banks, people also come for different purposes, different kinds of business. You need to only try to understand what these businesses are and understand their challenges, which most times are basically the same. So apart from the operations of the business, which that will be different, all the other success elements to look out for in business will be the same for the banks. But in the office here, people could come with um, political challenges from their words. People begin to call you leader. People begin to call you the future. People come with different demands that are not written in any book.
Now, I'll still stick on you on those challenges that you met, because you left a sector that was somewhat structured to civil service, where we know how civil service spirit is usually, especially when it has to do with government. It's basically government functions. How are you able to? You mentioned that one of the challenges there was managing people. How are you able to whip your staff into shape to ensure at least a bit of decency?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the public sector is not structured. In fact, they are the most structured organization. That's why you hear people say bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So the bureaucracy means that there are a lot of stages, a lot of stages of clearances you need to do to get whatever you need to get, and that is also structure. But the structure also increases the turnaround time. So in the bank, while speed is important, it's expected to be very fast in your transactions because anyone that comes to the bank wants to be served appropriately and fast. The civil service has got that huge turnaround times. And the civil servants are actually really, really educated and they know their job. So all they need to do is a direction and a body language.
Okay.
So once they see that you want things done this way and at this pace, they also fall in line. If they see that you come to work every day, even if you don't have, or your boss is not around, you still come to the office, then they will come to the office even when you're not around, even if you travel. So it's easy to lead from the front. So this is what I want you to do, so I do it, so you follow, right? And they understand that it's not going business as usual,
Absolutely.
So it wasn't easy, but it was interesting when they understood the body language and the direction, and it was easy for them to just
Was that the only
follow them.
challenge you encountered?
Uh, the people challenge, I think, is the most critical challenge. And then there are other challenges. I mean, we are a people first administration, and we had a lot of plans to do a lot of things. Um, when you're outside, there are things you wouldn't see. But when you come in, you're faced with the reality. So you need to restructure your reality to suit your perceived reality.
Okay.
So in getting our reality to where we thought we were, which was the new base, and then to start moving forward was another big challenge because we had to do some institutional restructuring. We had to do some basic understanding of what exactly we do have. So there's like a cost and benefit analysis that we needed to do. And that was a little bit of challenge, especially with some social mishap that happened to the States just some few years before we came,
Yeah.
the NSARS.
NSARS, yeah.
So a lot of records were destroyed. So there was no basis for some things we needed to do.
So, in the midst of all of these challenges, what would you point out as your most significant achievements in the past 1 year?
I think for Cross River State, our most significant achievement, which is the Ministry of Finance, the critical factor to that achievement is getting people and the investing community to believe again in Cross River State. Right? I mean, it's not a structure, it's not an infrastructure, it's not um, it's not giving monies to people, it's not arms giving. It's something that is intangible. You can't say it, but it's just the being of every successful organization.
Okay.
Getting the trust of the people, not just the people around, but getting the trust of the investing public. They need to see through you and know that you're real and your records are the true representation of who you are. Your budget is a realistic, feasible budget that you can achieve. Your finances are such that if you manage them properly, you'll be able to meet up with your budgetary your budgets, right? So for us, and you can see, I think the most job I do here is sift through partners that want to partner with the state in one way or the other. They troop in every day because they have seen, they understand, and they can imagine, they can perceive where we are going to, and they can relate. So we have created a system where they can plug in and play, so you know where to ask the questions, you know the things that we want to do, and we are serious about them because we have done basic foundational work. And most times we do not rely on what we want people to see, we rely on the reality. So we present ourselves the way we really are. And so that gives people confidence, investors confidence, and that's what makes businesses grow.
Interestingly, you mentioned budget, and that was the next place I was going to. Now, when you're talking about budget, we are used to big names attached to budget and figures, and perseverers don't really understand how this budget benefits them in the first place. So, 1 year in office so far, how do you manage the whole funding challenges given the limited allocation in Cross River State? Because one vocabulary all of us now added to ourselves was paucity of funds. Anything that has to do with Cross River State, you hear there's paucity of funds.
Yeah.
But so far in the past 1 year, we've not heard that language. But things are moving well. So how have you been able to, manage that with the limited resources?
Okay, so budgets. Um, the beginning of every business, you need to have a budget. After your plans and what you need to do, you need to now put it in naira and kobo.
True.
So the budget is just that document that tells you how much you need to spend to do this thing that you say you want to do. And it wouldn't make any sense if you're creating a budget that you know that you cannot fund. So a budget is not also limited to how much you can get within a particular period, right? Because budget costs between for a period of time, mostly 12 months, right? 12 calendar months. So a budget could also include kind of the monies you want to borrow, either in equity or in debt. So you can also add that. So if I say I want to build an airport that is, say, 50 billion naira, And I know that in a year, I might be getting $20 million.
Okay.
So in my budget, there is provision for building an airport. But because it will also take me 3 years to build an airport, I might not put all the $50 million in the first year,
Okay.
right? So you need to also understand how to allocate the real amount that you will spend on a project in the year that you incur that expenditure. So first of all, understanding the budgetary process and understanding what it stands for and understanding how to relate it to how you want to get funding for the project is very key.
Okay, but most perseverance,
Yeah.
sorry, don't really understand how all these processes work. Only thing they know is certain times in the year the government comes up with certain budget. How does that affect me? How does that concerns me? So they don't care. That's the government's business. My own is I want to be able to afford transportation to wherever I'm going to and foodstuff. How have you been able to bring this clearer and easier for the people to first of all get an idea as to how the budget benefits them?
Yeah, so there's the budgetary process as part of the budgetary process is a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we invite the public, we invite civil
Organizations.
organizations, we invite non-governmental organizations, we invite the social media influencers. So we invite them and tell them about the budget and why the budget is how it is. But for our people, one of the things that this ministry want to do, we did it. We're on the radio and TV a couple of times during the budgetary process to explain to people why you need to pay attention to the budget, right? Um, every government has a plan, and we say we are a people first government. So most of our projects are people oriented. If you do not understand the budget, if you do not pay attention to the budget as a citizen, you will not know the thoughts of government and the direction, the sectors they would really want to play in.
Okay.
But if you look at the budget, you will know if government wants to put in a lot of support for small and medium scale enterprises and how much it is. You will know the ministry and agency that this money will be channeled through.
Okay.
If the government is going to pay bursary or grants to students, you would know from the budget because there will be a ministry that has that budget head. So you would know. And if you look at the budget, you can also demand accountability from the system.
True.
And we want to be as open as possible to the public. The reason why there was almost no reaction during the last um, demonstration on bad governance in Cross River State was because we tried as much as possible to explain to the people what we are doing and why we are where we are. So the understanding of what you're doing first of all starts from that budget. So if I say I'm a people-oriented government, I want to help people in agriculture since we are mostly an agrarian state and we have fertile soil cuts across all the part of the state. And then you look at my budget, and agriculture takes less than 2% of the budget. Then it means I'm talking from both sides of my mouth.
True.
Now, if I go to agriculture in that budget, you'll see the different types of projects we want to do. And so you'll be able to key in and prepare yourself to leverage on those budget provisions. So the people need to understand. They need to take keen attention to the budget, so we can position ourselves to benefit from the projects that the state government is doing. And in that regards, we are also trying to now make it official enough or regular enough, periodic, to have a section where we'll analyze these things.
Okay.
So we were trying to get a panel discussion. It could be quarterly, it could be bi-monthly.
I think quarterly would be
where-
nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
where we will talk to people
Okay.
and explain to them where we are going, how you can position yourself, and why we are doing these things. So
Right.
it's probably a place to analyze this. So people can say, okay, but why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And that will take the public opinion to that place, and then so we will start that soon enough.
We'll follow you up on that. Another area where people are mostly interested in is revenue, internally generated revenue. Now, recently we saw a report online. In 2022, Cross River State amassed about 887 million for internally generated revenues. But that money was, I dare to say, doubled. We got 2.4 billion naira in 2023. 2024 so far, 6.3 billion. This is coming from the IRS portal. Now, do you plan to sustain and possibly improve this revenue generation moving forward? Because this is on a very
Okay, so
high progress
yeah,
rate.
so it was easy. You know, when you ask what's our best achievement so far,
Yeah,
I told you something. Investors' confidence,
true.
partnership confidence, a lot comes with that. So people, so there are companies and institutions that would love to pay tax, but they don't see what the tax is used for. So it is payments and benefits, right? And we're able to automate almost all the payment processes. So we don't get to see Mr. A going to a big company to collect tax, and then see Mr. B going there to collect same tax and asking for a haircut that might not come into the government's coffers. So income leakage is one of the biggest for tax collection. So we have been able to automate most of our tax collection throughout the states, and because the people also the major taxpayers also have confidence in the states. They are also able to pay their taxes without hustle. Yeah, sustaining what we have done. We will not just sustain, but it will keep improving. Because once you create more businesses, once you enable small and medium scale enterprises, it means that you're getting more people into the tax net, right? So if people become successful from earning 100,000 naira in a month from your business to earning 500,000 because you've created an enabling environment, that invariably means that they will pay taxes too, right? So the idea is not to tax people. We don't see people complaining so much about the taxation because there's a process that has been, there's a process for tax collection and there's a process to complain if the government is taxing you too much, and that process is actually active now.
Okay.
So if I give you a judgment, a best of judgment assessment, and you're not okay with it, you have a particular number of days to write and say, no, this is not what it is. So we have a platform for discussion. So we discuss with people and then we arrive at, so you don't see too many public complaints around taxations. And we expect this to continue. So when we enable businesses, we create an enabling environment that allow people to make more money. Businesses, other big businesses coming from outside of town, and they set up here. It increases the tax base. And once that is done, you see that it becomes sustainable.
Okay.
Right.
Now that's the automated tax system. Is it available to the market women? Is it
Yeah,
also available to
there
hawkers?
are different kinds of taxes. For Cross River State, you see that we play not so much on the informal tax collection,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So there's a formal and informal. If you do an analysis of tax revenues that have improved tremendously over 50%, you will see that the better part of it is not coming from the informal taxation, but it's coming from the formal taxation.
You don't fear you're losing money?
No, so I'm not saying you do not tax the informal businesses.
Okay.
I'm saying you don't put so much pressure on the informal businesses, especially at the time where you're having food insecurity and a lot of people are hungry and cost of living is high, cost of transportation is high. So you do not go dragging the informal sector so much. So what we try to do is create an avenue where the informal sector can make more money, boost that sector. Once you boost that sector, so there's already a platform and an enterprise research solution to handle the automation of that collection. We have offline POS terminals that can be used to get to the market and make payments. With so it's already there. The solution is there. But we don't also want to put pressure on the people that are at the bottom of the food chain
Okay.
right now.
You mentioned earlier that Cross River State is an agrarian society, and in the budget, you could also see how it has been prioritized. But is that the only sector that has been prioritized in the budget?
No, um, we think that it's our getaway card, right? Uh, the reason is Cross River State can grow literally anything.
True.
Yeah. So we have from the derived savanna to the almost arid to the very temperate and very cold areas in the ranch that can grow like olives and grow ornamental flowers and grow lettuce and cabbage and all of that. We can grow the cereals in the other part of the north down the hill the down the ranch plateaus. So from Obanliku, Bekwara, in fact, in the country, Bekwara has been identified as the local government that has the best soil for sorghum,
Wow.
right? And they have almost 100,000 hectares of land for sorghum. And in fact, we are trying to work with the federal government to bring a research institute to develop the cereal, um, um, and improve varieties. So that will also improve our output and the yield of farmers. So most of our farmers are subsistent, but now we're trying to get them commercial, and that will be done. We have not even um, we've not even tried to commercialize half of the things that we can grow. I mean, you know what Benny said is. Do you know how expensive that is?
It is.
But do you know anyone in Cross River State that has it in commercial quantity? No, but it grows almost anywhere. Go to my village, it's growing behind everybody's house, but nobody's planting it. Right? So if you develop that sector, you can imagine how much you make from just Benny seed. Right. So we move down to the central rainforest. We can grow any kind of forest, rainforest tree and plant. From the cocos to the palms to big timbers and all of that. They all can grow there. You come to the south, the mangrove, we have, so there's red and white mangrove. Do you know cactus can also grow in Cross River State? And cactus is one of the biggest um, um, products for biogas because, I mean, it has a lot of soft and foliagey kind of outlook, texture, and nature. So, and it grows like really, really fast. So, we have not even leveraged, we've not used like 20% of the comparative advantage we have in agriculture. And then we have the perfect weather. So, we have very good rainfall and we have very mild rainfall that also supports growth of anything. And then we're a coastal place, so even the blue economy and want to do aquaculture, we are just open to it. And then we border the Atlantic. So it means that we can also transport our goods through the Atlantic to any part of the world that we want to do. So
Although
we
we're
also
yet
have
to
that.
have such corridors open with most of these lines, this shipping
Well,
lines.
the corridors are open, but we need to develop them. We have a port that is working. Cross River has one of the biggest tank farms in the country. How do you think those products come? Their ships. Ships bring them in. So we
I
need
mean,
to.
apart from petrol, what else do they bring into
But
the
they are bringing
state?
petrol means that other things can come in, right?
True.
Good. So, to bring things into your state, you need to look at a lot of other factors. What is your population like? What's your consumption like? So, our plan is not to bring things that we will consume because we don't have the population
To consume
for the
them.
kind of consumption that will give us the kind of socio-economic benefit that we need. So, that's why we are trying to create an evacuation corridor. So, everybody in the north will come in through Calabar instead of going to Lagos. You're coming in through Cross River State, and then you're going out through Cross River State. So when we have that access, that the roads are good, or we have a rail, or we have an airport even here, a cargo airport even in Obudu, then it will help reduce the cost of doing business for the people in the north. So they would rather come here. And then we are open to the main Atlantic. I'm not even talking of fishing.
No.
Every fishing company in Nigeria that do fishing in the sea comes to the coast here to get the fish, to do their fish, and they travel for another 4, 5, 6 days to Lagos to process. So we don't even have any reservoir or any developed um, processing factory or even any trolley servicing. So that creates another opening for businesses. So for me, I think Cross River State is a virgin place.
And that's also
Really,
creating another area of questioning to you.
please bring it up.
Are you collaborating with any of these MDAs? Because we have a ministry for fisheries and aquatics, if I got that right, and there's also a ministry for agriculture and all of that. Are you collaborating with these different MDAs? The airport, the aviation sector, agri sector, education, and other side to see how they can collaborate.
Local and
Yes,
national,
and
yeah.
expand these corridors.
So local MDAs or the national?
Local MDAs to
Of
start
course,
with.
I mean the Ministry of Finance is not a place that executes projects or contracts. So our major job is to enable businesses and projects and processes in all the ministries. So we have an interwoven relationship with every ministry.
Okay.
All the ministries, their plans, their aspirations, their budgets, their cost consumptions and all of that, we need to work with them together. So the partnerships with different investors, different partners, we need to be in sync with them.
Okay.
So there's a strong collaboration even between. So the Ministry of Finance is also the only eye to the World Bank and all of the other multilateral agencies when it comes to government relating to government. Okay. So if an MDA, say Women Affairs, is supposed to get a partnership with the World Bank on developing women and anything like that, it has to be us doing the negotiation, us doing the discussion, us looking at the terms and conditions, and then when the funds come in, the partnership funds, the implementing agency runs with it. Okay. So what we do is get reports from what they are doing, and then make sure that it meets what we have signed up for. So it's an enabling ministry for all of the ministries, MDAs in the states. So there has to be that strong collaboration, and that also brings me to the other part of the job that is interesting. Mm-hmm. So you have to be talking to all your colleagues, all the commissioners. So some of your colleagues might not have need to talk to any other ministry. For instance, Ministry of Agriculture might have maybe little or not much to do with Ministry of Sports, yeah. Right? So there might not be that every time discussion, everyday discussion, but there is no way the Ministry of Finance will not have to have a collaboration with any of the ministries every time and all the time. Right. So that's why we have turned this place to, some of my colleagues would say, you have brought your banking life to the office. It means that sometimes we could be here till 11, 12 because there are things to do and we need to do those things.
I don't envy your ministry.
I love it.
I don't. So looking futuristic now, what are your key priorities for the next year and how do you plan to build on the successes you've achieved so far in the first year?
I said one of the best things we have done is to get people to believe and trust us. Okay. So I'd like to ask myself the question, what has that belief and trust gotten for you? So that belief and trust has made a lot of people, I tried to say that before, seek to partner with us in a lot of ways, right? And we don't rush into partnerships. We have to really look at them because we don't want to mortgage the state. Right. We don't want to be in a situation where in the next 10, 15 years, people start paying for things that we consume today, right? So we want to go into projects that are self-liquidating. And when I say self-liquidating, I mean the project can generate resources that can pay back itself, even if we go into a partnership that has to do with debt. So I'm not going to be depending on national to pay my debts tomorrow if it doesn't work. So we are going to go into legal agreements, legal documentation, partnership structure that will be focused on whatever project you're partnering with us to do. And then that project is going to employ a lot of people. That project is going to generate funds. That project will be taxable because it's not a government parastatal. It's going to be run by different kind of management. And then because it's taxable, what will happen? Sustainability, you asked me about our tax. How do we intend to continue to grow it? If that happens, our taxes continue to grow.